He's already moved on.
Okay, is Lucas there?
Yeah,
he's here.
Hey, do you want Buck had me pull the structure of Titans practice against the Cardinals? Are you going to want that or the Titans Punter audio first?
Well, I don't know, but just have them both up and ready to go.
Okay, yeah, they were both on audition.
Yeah,
it's we talked about this in the beginning of camp, how no one really likes joint practices. None of the players go in there and go yes, because it's football with no rules. You're swinging. It's not like you're kicked out of the gear going. These guys, we're going to handle it the same way we handled it with Tampa Bay and go in there with an attitude to get better.
Titans and Cardinals about to hit the practice field before the final preseason game Saturday night. Love him.
I've always been
All right, here we go.
over our football team.
Or hate him.
Well, I want to talk about how bad you guys are.
If it's Titans talk you're looking for, he's your guy. It's the Buck Reising Show.
Powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
All right.
Go to Spring Hill.
You turn me up in my ears, Kirby.
What's up?
Hello.
Oh.
All right, mic is on in 3, 2, you're live. Yeah.
Welcome in on this Wednesday to 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising hanging out here with you until 1 o'clock. We're live at Titans joint training camp practices between the Arizona Cardinals and the Tennessee Titans here in Nashville today. Beautiful conditions, a lot of different faces out on the field, some familiar ones as well, as Lucas was pointing out after spending some time over there with the Arizona contingent. We got Robert Walsh is here with us, Kirby, and Lucas Panzica. Brett Batchelor making it happen behind the scenes. Good morning, all.
Good morning. Beautiful day at St. Thomas Sports Park, and I can say that so I don't have to hear your ridiculous, superstitious jabber about saying it's a nice day, because it's the last day that we're broadcasting out here.
All right. You want to start this way? Because we got, stuff to do today. Malik Willis is going to be on the show at 11:20, right around there when practice wraps up, and we'll talk to the Titans starter for the last 2 games, basically. Get his kind of vibe, his assessment of camp, because once we get through this week, kids, pretty much a wrap before we get to September 11th with the New York Giants and the Tennessee Titans here in Nashville for Week 1. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in if you want to talk about anything that you're looking for out here on the practice field. Now, I wish we could show you a little more of what we're seeing out here on the practice field, Lucas, but I was told that we were not permitted to shoot one-on-ones today with Arizona being out here, which, of course, is exactly what people want to see. You want to see how these guys are measuring up. Now, we're watching this right now with Titans offense and Cardinals defense, 7-on-7 work, but we couldn't put out the live videos because apparently Arizona doesn't want people seeing what their DBs are doing or not doing in practice.
And it's a shame because I'm sure Titans fans would have loved to see the rep that Caleb Farley had. They would have loved to see the rep Caleb Farley had on DeAndre Hopkins just a few moments ago.
Oh, wait, Hopkins is practicing?
Hopkins is out there.
Ooh.
Hollywood Brown is out there. It is a largely healthy contingent of Arizona Cardinals of the guys that did make the trip.
So and by the way, there's only 1 day of work, it sounds like. I mean, the Titans are having a practice tomorrow, but it doesn't sound like Arizona is going to participate. Yeah, Kirby, they sent us a practice schedule.
I got
they have
that
a
audio.
practice tomorrow. What are you waving me off for? You can't say something to me that's contradictory to what I'm doing.
No, I'm telling you, I'm confirming that Arizona will not be here tomorrow. They'll be practicing at Vanderbilt. The Titans will practice tomorrow.
Oh.
They will not see each other again until Saturday after today.
But we knew this.
Right from Coach Vrabel's
Mike
mouth.
Vrabel told us this.
Yes.
I didn't know about the Vandy thing.
Well, I knew this Monday night.
Just because you have to be in these places to make sure that things can function properly. This is not something that's general information.
Well, I just don't run out and start screaming to the masses.
You've just done it on the radio.
Well,
so
yeah,
now who's the joke on now, Kirby?
It's 2 days old news. I figured by now someone else has leaked that information. You're talking about it. I would confirm your suspicion.
Excellent. So you're not confirming that this information has already been distributed. You're just assuming, spoiler alerts after 2 days, everything's good to go. So we'll see what kind of work these guys get in against each other today. And honestly, it's a pretty interesting look because they're still going to get the reps, obviously, with a practice tomorrow. But how critical the reps are today for Malik Willis, because we're just starting to run out of practices for him to get this practice work in, for him to grow and develop the way that they need him to if they're going to make the decision to keep only 2 quarterbacks on the active roster come next Tuesday at 3 p.m.
That's right.
Is when the final roster cut comes down. So that's kind of what we're looking for out here today, and we'll talk to Malik about a great deal of things. Some football, some not. We have a little fun with him. He seems like he's up for it. I did a little due diligence on the front end, and I think we're going to have a good time with Malik once practice concludes today. A couple of different things that caught my attention that I think in 31 other NFL markets, you would be fired for opening a radio show. I think, yes? Can we say this with confidence?
I don't know if we can say it with confidence. I think there could be an argument made for a couple of markets, but yes, we are among the few.
Yeah, so in 31 other NFL markets, it would be a fireable offense to open a 3-hour talk radio show talking about a punter competition. But, boys, let me tell you, when I saw this news from Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network, yesterday, I was aghast. I was shocked. I was dismayed about the potential that it might mean for a punter who loses the competition here in Titans practice. So this was the tweet from Mike Garafolo, and I'll tell you why it concerns me so much. At Mike Garafolo is where you can follow him, of course. Colts punter, Rigoberto Sanchez, tremendous name, I add parenthetically, suffered what's believed to be a torn Achilles in practice yesterday, sources say. Further testing to come, but the team is bracing for bad news here. Shall we play the game of raising, is it too early to play the raise your hand game? Is it too early in the day?
No, never too early.
Okay, well, unless you're driving, raise your hand if you know why this affects the Tennessee Titans. Anybody in the class tell me. I've got 3 people looking at me, utterly stupefied, not even looking at me. Robert's just staring off into the ether. I'm not sure what's happening there. Lucas, why does this affect the Tennessee Titans?
Because the Titans have 2 punters.
Oh, but one of the 2 has been here for a long, long time. People would be drunk, naked, and rioting in the streets if they cut Brett Kern only for him to end up an Indianapolis Colt. People would be pissed. People would lose their senses. And this was something like immediately after. What are you guys doing, a show on the side? What's happening here?
No, the thumbnail on the YouTube live, on the YouTube homepage, is just you sitting here and me with my hand raised. It's about a good description of the show.
Yeah, good. Excellent. I just giggling like I get distracted. You just guys are giggling off on the side. Robert, you could turn your microphone on at any point. You don't know how. Excellent. Well, then I'm glad you're here. I'm glad.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, my God.
I wasn't staring off in the ether.
I'm trying to do serious sports talk conversation, and YouTube dip bleeps or screw it around.
Well, but on a serious note, Mike Vrabel did speak on this after the game on Saturday.
Let's hear from Mike Vrabel about the punting situation, because it turns out the MV punter is in a legit competition.
I think they're both competing. I think that they both had some really good days, and I think Brett's punting better than he did last year. From what I've seen, and I don't think we're ready to make a determination on who's the punter.
So the fact that it's even still a part of the conversation when Mike Vrabel says there that they're not in a position that they feel like they can make a decision on the punter, that's significant in and of itself. Because I think if you'd have told me, even a month ago, right before, I think that was the week before training camp started a month ago from about today, if you'd have told me that Brett Kern would be one of the guys who were legitimately talking about losing his job to a rookie undrafted free agent, I'd have smacked you in the face.
Yeah.
I'd have smacked you in the face and I'd have called you a liar. And I don't think that would have been too far.
Is it the closest single position battle on this roster right now?
Without question.
Yeah.
Like where else?
I mean, there's 3 happening right now, right? Like 3 major position battles at right tackle, at QB2, and at punter.
Like the other 2, I don't think it's as close as we're making it out to be.
Yeah, well, we talked about it yesterday. You feel like the right tackle spot is all but settled.
With options on this roster, I believe Nick Petit-Frere is their starting right tackle. Yes, if they add somebody else, it opens the door back up.
It feels like Willis has done enough to at least make it a conversation about, okay, do they keep only 2 quarterbacks on the 53? A conversation. But this battle between Kern and Stonehouse is neck and neck right now.
And I was looking at their numbers last night because, like I said, there's few other markets in the country where you could open with punter talk and this would be compelling to people. But I think people are legitimately invested in Brett Kern's success and career here. Obviously, they see in front of them the tangible ability of Ryan Stonehouse in these moments. So total, they got 6 punts in the last preseason game. Ryan Stonehouse played the second half for the Titans. Brett Kern got the first. They did the same thing in Baltimore. In fact, Brett was about one of the only vets that made that trip to Baltimore by nature of the punting competition.
Yeah.
And so in the first half, Kern punted twice, total of 86 yards, averaged 43, but the net was also 43, which is important to keep in mind. He had two punts inside the 20, which is exactly what you're looking for there, and his longest was 47. So he's out there throwing darts. He's not booming it, but he's out there throwing darts. You've got then Ryan Stonehouse, who punted 4 times in the second half, 47 yards on average, but a 37-yard average net, which is important to keep in mind. 10 yards is a big deal. 2 touchbacks, 2 inside the 20, and a long of 68, which is obscene.
And a 10-yard scamper for a first down.
That's right. But, for the purposes of that, that's probably his worst snap so far in training camp.
Yes.
Not ideal.
But he did do some of the things that they needed to see from him.
Oh, no, sure. I mean, hell, half of it is holding the field goal for Randy Bullock in those moments to be able to see if he can continue the clean field goal operation, because if they jack with that, they're going to have problems. It is really crazy, especially the idea that Brett Kern, if he was to lose the position battle here, get cut and end up in Indianapolis, I think people would really, really be angsty about that, because you play those 2 games early, and any advantage you can have in the AFC South this year, I think, is going to be critical. So you better love this Stonehouse dude if you're willing to make that move this year.
Brett Wallace in the YouTube chat, where you can hang out with us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch, says McCreary and Farley is one of those close competitions. The difference being both those guys are on the 53-man roster. Loser of the punter battle is gone.
Yeah, they're off, and not only are they off, they have the potential to go to a division rival.
Yep.
Now, I assume that Indianapolis is going to add a punter before – in the near future. Like, it's not like they're just going to leave that spot absent. Even the Jags, I think, signed a kicker or claimed a kicker off waivers
did they?
at some point yesterday.
So they have a kicker?
So they have now the same amount of kickers suing them as they have on their active roster, which is a swell statistic and just emblematic of that entire franchise and its existence. We'll keep you updated with what's going on the practice fields out here at St. Thomas Sports Park. We're broadcasting live today. Throughout the course of all of it, you're going to hear from Malik Willis, who's going to join the show. Mike Vrabel's press conference as well later on in the day. But let's talk about the AFC South in a little larger picture, if we could, because I think there's a lot of interesting storylines coming out of the 3 other teams that we haven't really paid much mind to at any point this summer. We'll do that coming up next. Your phone calls as well, 615-737-1045. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone.
Buck Spring Hill.
Okay.
You got 20 seconds.
That's fine.
Arizona Cardinals are in, rolling it up with the Titans.
more information if you want to be their next All-Star. Live from Titans and Cardinals joint training camp practices, although they feel less and less joint, Lucas, as we
not very joint.
They're not practicing on the same fields.
Yeah.
So this was, and it's pure speculation at this point, because I don't know anything about why they are doing the things that they are doing.
What's the opposite of joint?
Individual, one would think.
Yes.
Separate.
Correct.
Divided, Kirby says. Yeah, there are many words.
Separate and individual, according to Oxford.
Okay.
That is what is happening.
Excellent. Yes. So they're practicing against themselves, but on different fields. So right now I'm watching Titans 2s on offense versus Titans 2s on defense, and I assume Arizona is somewhere doing the same thing. What is the purpose of this? Oh, Cody Hollister, that's a terrible drop.
That's a nice ball by Willis.
You got to hang on to that pass, bud. As we made it through the second round of roster cuts yesterday, and more eyes on. I think there's 12 wide receivers left on the roster. We went through them yesterday at length.
Yeah.
For the purposes, though, of this, so J.J. Watt tested positive for COVID, and that was a couple of days before they ended up traveling to Tennessee. Now, obviously, he has not made the trip, but do you notice how sparse the Arizona sideline is just generally?
Yeah, they didn't bring a lot of guys, and they brought some significant guys, though. I mean, Tampa brought pretty much everybody except the guys at the top of the depth chart at wide receiver, and obviously Tom Brady for the most part, as the deep ball's hauled in by Mason Kinsey down the left sideline.
Over 23, who I believe is Trey Avery.
That's Trey Avery. That's right. Who tossed that? I did not see who was
that was Willis. That was Malik
okay.
Willis.
Well, there you go.
Out here throwing bombs.
So the Bucs brought in more bodies, but not so much at the top of the depth chart. With the Cardinals, it's the opposite. DeAndre Hopkins is out here. Hollywood Brown is out here. Kyler Murray is out here.
On Hollywood Brown, though, quickly, I told you this before we came on the air. I asked if there are some Arizona people who traveled, media people that traveled, and I was curious to know whether Hollywood Brown would actually practice, given the situation around Hollywood Brown in the last couple of weeks. And they said, yeah, when he's out of jail, he's on the practice field.
If you see, I don't know what Hollywood Brown drives, but if you see a Porsche or a Bentley of some sort just zooming down the highway or by your house, duck for cover because it's probably Hollywood Brown. He is in Nashville.
No, I think it's a far funnier visual to see, the idea of him in a junker, a beater rental car, like he's whipping around Nashville 110 miles an hour in a Grand Marquis. Like
well, if it's an Altima, head on a swivel.
Yeah. they may look like go-karts, but don't
mess around. Yeah.
So with that being said, it is getting progressively less joint as we are out here. And Mike Vrabel, we asked him about their plan for these joint practices, and he kind of let on that this might be the case. This was the head coach on Monday.
We'll only practice against them on Wednesday, just from a health standpoint. Cliff and I decided that was best for our football teams at this point in time. A lot of good one-on-one work, receivers and DBs, and getting some pass rush in, getting some 7-on-7. And then we'll split up. We'll do some work against ourselves, Tennessee on Tennessee, and then we'll come back together for 2 minutes.
So they will come back together at some point today in these practices. But you know what? Because I read some reporting out of Arizona on this, why Cliff Kingsbury said that they are not interested in it. And basically Cliff asked for it in the same way that I assume he asked for the one-on-ones not to be filmed today. According to Arizona Sports 98.7, quote, I asked for it. I called Mike Vrabel and asked for it just with where we're at health-wise, talking about the Cardinals. He was kind of in the same mindset at this point. Let's get in there, have great competition, and get out healthy. So it seems like, this sounded like a great idea to everybody when they were planning these things in the offseason league meetings and things like that, owners' meetings, and then they got here and they're like, I don't necessarily know about this.
Yeah.
Because I was going through some of the Arizona injuries, and they are dealing with quite a few, especially in the offensive line. 3 starters, Will Hernandez, Rodney Hudson, and Justin Pugh, all dealing with some sort of injuries. And then rookie Marquis Hayes is still a week or 2 out from his return from a minor knee injury. They did trade for Buffalo Bills offensive lineman Cody Ford, another Oklahoma player, to go with Hollywood Brown and Kyler Murray. They have several on the roster at this point. It looks like people are taking a knee on the field. Did something happen?
I don't think so because they're setting up field goal drills.
Okay, I wasn't sure. You never know on a practice field.
No injuries.
It got a lot quieter.
Right.
The music stopped. I got disoriented.
Well,
I was like, what the hell happened?
And this is also the Titans' second joint practice, obviously, of training camp. The Ravens did not hold joint practices, I believe. The Cardinals did not hold joint practices against the Ravens, though they did allow the Ravens to continue their preseason win streak. 22.
22 in a row.
Congratulations, Robert.
Robert, are you a Ravens fan?
You didn't know that?
We may have talked. Is your microphone on? Never. I hope the microphone, with your mic being off, picks up that ridiculous sound that you just made. I can't hear you either, Kirby. What the hell is happening around here? Somebody talk to me.
We did. We talked about this. Yes, I'm a Ravens fan. I'm trying to keep it on the low key because y'all don't really like us. And I don't have a problem with y'all, man. I just don't want nobody to get hot at me about nothing. I didn't say nothing about
even wearing purple out here.
Look, man, it's laundry day, dog. You're wearing a Black Cat Magic shirt. You look like you rolled straight out of the laundry bin over here just to watch some Titans practice.
Well, this is the only shirt I had today that didn't have cat hair on it.
Well,
I know that pain. I think all three of us here are cat owners.
We need a lint roller in this remote kit.
All four of us. Kirby's a cat owner.
No,
too.
Cat Dads Unite!
What Kirby has is not a cat. What Kirby has is a mountain lion. I've seen pictures.
What, you got, like a Maine Coon or something?
No, it's just a cat, but he weighs 22 pounds, and he's about that big.
It's
and
half Wolverine.
He's got a paw about the size of a silver dollar.
We need a station cat. We need one out here as a little a service animal to keep me calm during these remotes.
We did. It was feral. It was like living in the storage unit. They asked me to come in and try to trap it because that's what I did with the ones that live in my house now.
Didn't you have a bird out here? We had some kind of pet out here last time you were here.
Yeah,
Oscar?
The station cat got it.
Yeah, exactly.
It got Tweety birded.
Call it for Robert.
PCA will be out here.
Oh, goodness. 615-737-1045. Brett, what did you just say too quietly in my ear?
This is a caller specifically for Robert wanting to speak about the Ravens.
Oh, no. Who am I talking to?
Key
Who's
him
on
up.
the line?
Jason.
Jason. What's up, Jason?
Hey, man, I'm sorry for you, Robert, but why are y'all so determined to win all these preseason games? That doesn't help you out in the regular season. Y'all should save those wins for the regular season.
Oh, no, we're leaving them for you, big dog. Y'all can have all them regular season wins. We're going to get a ring for this preseason, and I'm going to tote it around the studio. Let everybody come and kiss it.
You're going to get a preseason ring.
Yeah, give me a preseason ring. I'll wear it.
It's like the
on my toe. Like a mood ring.
A toe ring.
Give me a toe. Yeah, that's what a preseason ring should be. It should be a toe ring, not a finger ring.
I agree. Well, I'm glad that you went with toe and not another part of the anatomy.
Cut my mic off, Kirby. Get me the hell out of here.
It could barely. Yes, this is a family atmosphere, Robert. Control yourself.
So how many years is that now? Because it just went to 3 preseason games last year, and so it's been 5 in the last 2. So how many years have the Ravens not lost a preseason game?
I was chugging beer at East Carolina University the last time they lost a preseason game.
That helps absolutely nobody.
2016, I believe.
You could be 86 years old on the radio.
And I might be. You don't know. Cut the rings and find out.
You're that young because you sound like the granddad from the real McCoys back.
Get them Hatfields over here.
Robert, at Robbie Walsh for all your Ravens complaints, if you would like to.
It was 2015, by the way. 2015.
2015
was the last time they lost a preseason
Hell, I
game.
was still in college. That's a long time ago.
I was still in high school in 2015.
All right. Well, nobody likes the guy. Nobody likes the guy who undercuts other people with their age.
Oh yeah, I was in elementary school.
And you know why we can say that? Because that's what Lucas and I spent the first 6 months of this radio show doing. A disclaimer to all the older people who listen to the FM radio that we don't know anything about sports. That's basically what we had to do for the first 6 months. That's how we know people don't like it. So let's talk about these teams in the AFC South, not named the Tennessee Titans, shall we? If I said to you the most interesting storyline in the AFC South this year, a Deshaun Watson-less Houston Texans, although they will host him in his grand, I suppose, return to the playing field in Week 12 when the Browns play at the Texans. You've got a situation for the Indianapolis Colts where, again, they are shuffling the deck specifically at quarterback with another borderline washed veteran that you're not sure about the sustainability, but that you know is a clear and obvious upgrade over what they've had in at least the last, I would say since Andrew Luck, Matt Ryan is the best quarterback to take a snap for the Colts, even at this stage of his career.
Yes.
And then you have Jacksonville, which, while Uncle Herb slinks back into the Fox Sports studio to do whatever it is he feels that he needs to do and lecture us about leadership and wisdom and, how not to get caught in a pint house with co-eds and kicking kickers and all manner of things. Thank you, Robert, for laughing off mic at my joke. It doesn't help me, but it doesn't help everybody else, but it makes me feel better. So you have Trevor Lawrence. Basically, can you fix this entire thing and get him to a place where he's salvageable as one of the most talented players that we've seen come into the sport? Again, probably since Andrew Luck, one of the better quarterback prospects that we've talked about in quite some time. To me, the team that jumps out the most continually is Jacksonville. And I don't know why I can't get them off my mind. I don't know why I'm so interested in what they do this year and why I find them more compelling than the Colts. Because it's a nobody would argue that it's more than a two-team race in the AFC South. Yes?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Colts and Titans. And probably Titans-Colts as far as favorites are concerned. Or at least should be based on the roster construction of the two right now. So with that being said, what is it about the Jags that continues to make me think that they're going to cause problems for all of the football teams in this division? Because I think they're going to be competent.
Yeah, it's just they're not going to challenge for the AFC South title. They're definitely more compelling, no question, because of what they're coming off of with the Urban Meyer era in Jacksonville and what they've brought in, that they might have a competent offense. Like, we know the talent is there. I'm really excited to see Travis Etienne play for the Jags in 2022, but for me, it's still the Colts because that's just going to have such a higher impact on what the postseason will look like for the AFC South. And Matt Ryan, how much higher is his ceiling than Phillip Rivers' ceiling was in Indianapolis?
I do think considerably.
I agree. And can Michael Pittman kind of build off of his first 1,000-yard season as he enters year 3 of his pro career? Is Alec Pierce going to sort of burst onto the scene as a rookie, the rookie out of Cincinnati, the wide receiver?
All I see on my timeline these days from, like, the NFL beat writers account, they follow, like, beat writers from all 32 teams, so you don't have to. It's really convenient, no free ads. But all I see them retweeting on my timeline is highlight reel catches from Colts wide receivers.
Yeah.
Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. Still no sighting of Paris Campbell. He's basically been on the side of a milk carton since he got there from Ohio State.
Yeah, but I mean, they're excited about what they have in Indianapolis.
They should be. Those skill players look fun. No wonder they didn't bring back T.Y.
So the Jags are more interesting, right? Because Trevor Lawrence is more interesting, and what's going to happen after Urban Meyer with Doug Peterson stepping in is more interesting, but it's not more important than what the Colts are doing in Indianapolis to the Titans.
615-737-1045. See, because I come back to we're not talking about the Texans, right? Like, I think that Lovie Smith could get David Culley'd.
Yeah, it feels like deja vu.
I just generally feel bad about that situation for anybody who's in that spot because clearly their ownership is incompetent with the way that that's been managed, and a situation where they've just come off the scandal of having to settle with 30 women because of the allegations that they not only were aware of Deshaun Watson's pattern of behavior but were providing hotel rooms and an NDA. Not great. So let's remove the Texans from the conversation, other than Davis Mills and his giraffe neck make me giggle, and I like to watch him run around out there just comedically. That's about the entertainment value that the Texans have for me. And he's not terrible. Who would you say, if I said to you a quarterback who you're like, okay, not terrible, what is the first quarterback that comes to your mind?
I think it's Davis Mills. Absolutely.
No, I just mean like generally across time. Like, is there a name that you associate with? Like, okay, not terrible.
Not terrible.
Not terrible.
Sanchez officially tore his Achilles.
I think Joe Flacco with the Ravens. Not terrible. I just say that because Robert's sitting right here.
Well,
but
that's a different question. That's elite or not elite. We spent 6 months of Sports Talk Radio and First Take and things like that talking about Joe Flacco.
I mean, that's
lack of eliteness.
The highest quality backups around the league, right? Like Tyrod Taylor, you would say that about. Like, okay, not terrible.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could, and then you would be reminded that he beat the Titans by not throwing a pass further than 5 yards last year in a terrible, terrible game that Ryan Tannehill threw 4 of his interceptions for the season during. So with all that being said, I really do think that Jacksonville, because it's not necessarily about challenging for the division yet. It's can you complicate things for the other teams who are trying to compete for the division? Do you, by nature of, say, upsetting the Titans at a point in the season, and by the way, that's who they end. that could be a critical game coming down to the last game of the year, Week 18.
Yeah.
Because the Titans, for the first time in I think like 4 or 5 years, are going to play Jacksonville instead of Houston in the season finale. So if Jacksonville does to the Titans in 2022 what they did to the Colts at the end of 2021, would that not have the ability to tip the balance of power in favor of a team like Indianapolis if the division ends up being as close as we think it will be, which is certainly closer than it's been in the last 2 years?
How long would that take, though?
For
Jacksonville.
Oh, well. Yeah.
To tip anything in the AFC South.
I think it was just so refreshing to watch Trevor Lawrence throwing to open receivers in preseason. Like, I know they're not going to be that open in the regular season, but to see offense put into place, even in the preseason, that they are going to get the quarterback comfortable, get him in rhythm, and allow him to develop a flow and create better habits than whatever the hell was happening under Urban last year. That's the thing that I think catches my attention the most. 615-737-1045. Chuck is in Clarksville on this Wednesday rather. Sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Buck. Hey, I'm 65 years old, getting ready to be 66 tomorrow, and I was just wondering, does Indy get a AARP discount for Matt Ryan this year?
Is he 37? Look that up for me, Lucas, if you would. And by the way, let's go ahead and give it to him, Brett, since his birthday is tomorrow. A very happy early 66th birthday to Chuck in Clarksville.
And happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
It's the highest honor that we have around here.
Yeah, so Matt Ryan's 37, but, it's only 3 years older than Ryan Tannehill. I mean,
right. No, well, okay, but here's the thing. Like, if you'd have said 37-year-old quarterback pre-Tom Brady, everybody would have looked at you like you're drunk. What are you talking about? You're out of your mind. He has so skewed, I think, performance expectations for so many other quarterbacks around the league just by nature of this dude playing until in year 45. This is this 23rd season, I believe, for Tom Brady, which is wild. So when you say 37 is not that old for Matt Ryan and that it's only 3 years older than Ryan Tannehill, I also do think that there's, the standard has changed unrealistically because Brady's, lack of strawberries in his diet for 15 years has kept him on the practice field in some way, shape, or form.
And then Aaron Rodgers is 38. It's the same conversation. But when you say Matt Ryan is as old as Joe Flacco, then it does kind of change the tone.
Well, why does Joe Flacco feel so much older?
I don't know, but why does Joe Flacco, I feel like, catches more strays than any other quarterback of the last 20 years in the NFL?
He don't care, baby. He got that bag. He got that ring. Joe's chilling.
Yep.
He doesn't care
And he
at
might
all.
start week 1.
Ravens revenge game. How about that, Robert? A little taste of your own flaccid Flacco medicine. How about that? 615-737-1045. Don't worry, his micro's off. Ed is in Nashville up next. Hello, Ed.
Hey, Buck. Hey, listen, guys. I got a question for you, Buck, and then I'm going to follow up with something else.
Mm-hmm.
If Tannehill, and I don't know because, Vrabel's never going to tell you, but if Tannehill goes to Vrabel this week and says, look, I want to play a couple of series in the Arizona game,
mm-hmm.
do you think they would allow that or is that something that Vrabel is just not going to allow, period? What do you think?
Well, I think Mike would not have the reaction that I'm going to project that he would have, but I think in his head he's saying hell no, and then in reality he's probably having a discourse with Ryan about, okay, why do you want to play in this, and what would you get out of this that you didn't get out of practice, and stay the hell off the field. That's what I would say.
All right, this is the follow-up to that. Listen, it's out there. We all saw it. He had a terrible game to end the season, and it doesn't have to be a quarterback. It could be a pitcher. It doesn't even have to be sports. It could be anything in life. If you screw up, or even if you have success at it, aren't you just itching to get back out there? And I don't understand. If Vrabel says no under no circumstance you're not going to play in the preseason, that's it. But as a player, if you write a good book and you have success at it, you want to know if you can do it again. If you write a bad book, you want to know, look, let me try it again. I just don't understand why someone who had the worst game of his career.
Thank you, Ed. We appreciate the call. If you hear that Oscars music, that means your phone call has exceeded 60 seconds. as is the rules around here. So I understand his point because you know what was one of the funnier reactions that I got from people? Why don't I tell you coming up next? People, Titans fans I talked to in Nissan Stadium for Saturday's preseason game about what it was like to be back in there for the first time since Cincinnati, and some reporting from one of our good friends in the national media about Ryan Tannehill specifically. We'll play that for you coming up next.
But QC.
Rolling.
Yep.
We are observing some Titans 11-on-11 work, intra-squad scrimmage, for lack of a better term. Apparently, the Titans and Cardinals are going to get back together and do work against one another in the 2-minute drill, according to Mike Vrabel earlier today. But Ed in Nashville, I think that's where Ed was. Ed, regardless, wanted to talk about Ryan Tannehill. And since we have Malik Willis on the radio show at 11:20 today, I imagine the quarterbacks are going to come up a great deal. So I want you to hear this report from Diana Russini yesterday. I saw it on her timeline, a live shot that she did either for SportsCenter or NFL Live. And see if this isn't kind of the answer to your question, Ed, and all those who are having questions about why Ryan Tannehill doesn't want to, or not necessarily doesn't want to play in the preseason, but why isn't playing in the preseason, and why not necessarily he would be itching to play in the preseason, because what in the hell vet is interested in playing in the preseason? This is Diana Russini's report.
How do the Titans feel about their quarterbacks?
Mics are off, minute 20.
Let's start with Ryan Tannehill because, there's so much attention on Malik Willis. I just got back from Nashville, and the cover of the sports sections of most of the newspapers there are Malik, and he's the bright spot of this team. This is Ryan Tannehill's team, and I can tell you it's Ryan Tannehill's team because the way he looks in camp. He looks fantastic field. We know the last time we saw him was against the Bengals in the playoffs, throwing 3 interceptions that cost the Titans their entire season. We know the whole story since then. But Ryan Tannehill looks like he has bounced back mentally. And I know there's no A.J. Brown out there on the field, but he's done a really good job of figuring out all the different weapons that he can use and finding their best characteristic. You can't replace A.J. Brown. That's not what I'm trying to debate here. But I'm trying to also share with you guys what I saw, which was a group of receivers that all bring a little something different to the table.
10 seconds, mics are back up.
This team is their running back, Derrick Henry. So, while yes, we're focused there on those pass catchers, it's Derrick Henry's offense, and Ryan Tannehill looks sharp.
I dispute none of what she's saying there as far as what our observations have been. I think we've talked about him not necessarily being a different quarterback, but certainly being more comfortable and having the ability to be more comfortable with what's around him, getting these critical reps. So when Ed asks me in the last segment, well, shouldn't he be itching to play in the preseason? Of course not, because he's out here practicing every day, and he looks fine.
And practicing with his receivers and his tight ends. Like, that's the biggest thing about last year that nobody talks about. He was rusty. He was rusty week 1 because he didn't play in the preseason. Julio Jones was barely on the practice field for the Titans in training camp. A.J. Brown was on and off the practice field for the Titans in training camp. With the exception of Treylon Burks leaving early 1 or 2 times, everybody has been out here. He's been able to get all the work that he needs with the core around him that are a bunch of new faces, but he's working in team drills and individual drills and 7-on-7s, work that he did not get last year. Like, people just leave that part out of the conversation.
Well, and this was the week 1 opponent that they're holding these joint practices with, as the Titans and Cardinals are coming together for some 2-minute work. Titans first-team offense versus Cards first-team defense in front of us. Right now, looks like Lawan is exchanging pleasantries with 94 at this point.
No Chandler Jones.
No Chandler Jones.
He
no
is a
J.J.
Raider.
Watt.
He will be here week 3.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you want to know why they got blitzed in week 1, literally and metaphorically speaking? Because their offensive line was terrible. And not quarterback rust. Like Tannehill, I think there wasn't any part of Tannehill's performance in week 1 that told me rusty. The only thing that I saw was him under complete and total duress the entire time he was out there.
And they got in the hole early, and they were trying to play catch-up the entire game, and it got them out of their game plan. Like, to me, that had much more to do with the week 1 result against the Cardinals last year than quote-unquote rust from not playing preseason games.
As Ryan Tannehill is incomplete on 1st and 10 in the 2-minute drill, Titans offense versus Cardinals defense. We'll keep you updated as things roll along. What happened?
Jael in the YouTube chat says, excuses is all I hear. Buck, you're always minimizing situations.
I'm always yeah, because you're maximizing them, you dope. Like, what do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, of course I'm going, if you have a question, I'm going to provide you a logical explanation as to why it is that you are seeing the things you are on the field. Is that not literally why they write my paycheck? every week. That is literally my job, to tell you what you are seeing and to provide additional context. For God's sakes, especially if you're somebody like that, your one job is to listen. You're not listening to what I'm saying? Does it not make complete and total sense? I'm not talking. It looks like I'm yelling at Lucas.
Okay, well, no, I do think you could be easier on people because I understand where the frustrations come from. Like, people look around the league and they see starters playing in preseason games. There is value there. Like, if NFL head coaches that know a lot more about football than we do believe there is some value there, then there is. But this coaching staff doesn't believe that. And I'm just saying people are so quick to point to the lack of preseason reps last year as why they got off to a bad start, where no starters – there was no preseason week 1, 2020, right?
Best offense in the history of the franchise.
So, I mean, I just think people are too quick to look to that because they look and they see Josh Allen getting snaps and they see – Patrick Mahomes playing a full half with the Chiefs, which I agree is too
that's
far.
Stupid. Like, Andy Reid is not a smart person for playing Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and any other starters that they did in the entire first half of a preseason game. You dope, get them out of there.
But also it is fair to look at perspectives from guys like Blaine Bishop, who says, no, I wanted to play in the preseason. I love playing in the preseason. It was important for him to get into that groove of being in a game environment before the start of the season.
How long ago did Blaine play?
People can feel differently about it.
How long ago did Blaine play?
Oh, gosh. He retired, 2003,
It's
4,
a completely different world than it was 5 years ago in the NFL, much less 20 years ago in the NFL.
I get that, but I'm just saying there are different perspectives to it, and there are coaches that know a lot more than you and I do that believe there is value there.
I refuse to acknowledge that fact.
It is okay for people to disagree, but it's also okay for us to tell them why this is different.
I am totally fine with disagreement. It's just if you're going to disagree, have a smart argument.
Okay, but if someone's going to disagree with you, don't say you dope. Your only job is to listen. Like that's my only thing with you.
That's
that is not conducive to a constructive argument.
Well, maybe I want to put my maybe if I put my thumb on one, it'll keep 10 more from popping up. I try to be proactive in these things. All right, let's do. Speaking of dumb things,
we got tickets.
Like my position on the preseason, or anybody else's for that matter. There's no good opinions that come out of preseason. We have the dumbest thing in sports to do coming up next. We also have a family 4-pack of tickets to see ZZ Top and Jeff Beck at First Bank Amphitheater. Did they change the name? The amphitheater? Where's First Bank?
That's it's the one in Franklin.
Oh.
It's not Ascend.
Okay, I was like, what happened?
No, that's the one in Franklin that opened up, I guess, a little over a year ago. That's had some really good shows. And, man, I know it's not all of ZZ Top, obviously, with their bass player passing away a few months ago. But,
I forgot about that.
I would kill to see ZZ Top at First Bank Amphitheater.
Way to undercut the tickets by reminding everybody of personal tragedy. All right, family 4-pack of tickets to see ZZ Top and Jeff Beck at First Bank Amphitheater on September the 27th. All you got to do is coming up next, give us the dumbest thing in sports.
And the number.
615-737-1045.
Superbook.
With Blaine and
streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Zone TV, happy to have you guys there too. 615-737-1045. That's the phone number. You want to talk about anything that we're watching out here in practice today. Were we in a commercial break when Kyle Phillips got his bleep rocked?
He got ear holed. I believe Ron Slay had the better view of it. He said number 20, which would be Marco Wilson, the former Florida cornerback.
Oh, so you're already predisposed to think that guy's garbage, huh?
Well, and Slay said, he pulled up a little bit, but it was a bang-bang play, and Kyle Phillips did get rocked over the middle of the field. And what was a really tight window throw by Ryan Tannehill.
He's still on the sideline, Kyle Phillips is, but it's not necessarily been a smooth day for him. He dropped, somebody throwing an interception?
That's an interception.
By
Malik
the Titans
Willis.
defense. Oh, no,
No, that's
sorry.
the Cardinals defense, and it's
Okay.
picked off. No, that's not right.
The visibility is difficult with all the Giants in front of us.
Well, I saw a number 18 running it back, and it's definitely not A.J. Green, so I don't know who came up with that pick.
All
but
right.
Malik Willis did throw it.
So Malik Willis on the interception in the Titans' 2-minute drill. They're working against the Cardinals right now. Perhaps we will find something on Twitter that will be more informative than our half-skewed vision here. I got Jeff's head directly in my line of sight. Turns out Jeff is not just a large human, but also has a large dome. So we are going to have Malik Willis over here at 11:20. We're going to talk to the Titans rookie quarterback about how his camp has gone so far, about the 2 preseason starts that he's gotten, and how life is going otherwise. But in the meantime, we got the dumbest thing in sports this week and some tickets to give away. Let's go ahead and do it, Brett.
Let's be honest. You've already seen something this week that made you say,
What the is this?
That's bullshit.
What the hell? Give me some more now.
Something so mind-numbingly idiotic that you just want to get it off your chest.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Some idiot.
Hey, let me grab the callers' phone numbers real quick if y'all want to go ahead.
Sports this week on the Buck Reising Show.
615-737-1045. That's how you call in and tell us what the dumbest thing in sports is this week. If you give us one that we like, we're going to send you to ZZ Top. I got a 4-pack of tickets for you. ZZ Top and Jeff Beck at First Bank Amphitheater on September 27th. 615-737-1045. Robert, Kirby, are you participating today?
That's a yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got one.
Brett, do you have a dumbest thing in sports today?
I do.
Okay, excellent. This has gone smoothly to start the second hour. Oh, goodness. All right, we'll go around the room and do the dumbest thing in sports with everybody who's hanging out here, and we'll take your phone calls on it as well. Can my dumbest thing in sports be the way that we started this practice without being able to film one-on-ones? Like, I don't get the insecurity in that. I don't understand what it is that these coaches are so scared that people are going to hyper-criticize, hyper-analyze, and it's going to happen. But stuff like that is going to get out on social media anyway, and the teams end up using it for their own purposes. We don't get to shoot through the entire practice, and that's fine. I'm not asking to. But when you limit even further the ability of fans to see how their players, their favorite players, are participating in competition, especially when there's excitement around it like joint camp work, bleep you. That's the dumbest thing in sports this week. I think that's small by the Cardinals.
Yeah, especially when we can talk about it. I can sit here and I can tell you that Christian Fulton had good coverage on DeAndre Hopkins on a one-on-one, but Hopkins was physical, caught the ball anyway, and I can tell you that Caleb Farley had an excellent pass breakup also on DeAndre Hopkins in those one-on-ones. Roger McCreary got beat for a touchdown in that same drill. I can tell you all of those things, and you can picture it, but no, you can't watch it on video because Cliff King's very scared.
All right, so everybody loses because Cliff King's very scared. Well, honestly, though, we brought up all their other practice restrictions and limitations. I understand if you got a team with injuries and you want to kind of go easy on these guys. In fact, like you talked about, without the COVID preseason, NFL teams ended up being fine and the offense was exceptional. Defense, a different story, but that's a conversation for another day. But yes, the Cardinals, my dumbest thing in sports this week.
My dumbest thing in sports this week is something that was shared by a media outlet, John Boy Media, this week. An unsuspecting Yankees fan at a Yankee game that did not know he was being filmed, so I know he was not doing this for a bit, which makes it worse as Kirby is retching off to the side here.
I realize what you're getting
exactly what I'm talking about. A Yankee fan that was seen with a hot dog in one hand, a beer in another hand, which is fine. He then proceeded to take the hot dog out of the bun, to poke a hole through the hot dog, to put it in the beer, and to use the hot dog as a straw.
It's disgusting.
You know I'm one of the most open-minded people when it comes to food on this planet.
Open-minded or grotesque? Both.
I will try anything that you put in front of me, but that is an abomination. It is my dumbest thing in sports this week.
I don't know, man. I don't think we're thinking outside the box enough. You cannot even hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I
Move your
can't
mic
hear
close.
myself.
It's your proficiency with a microphone.
It's supposed to be in
front
my
of your face.
mouth?
Yeah,
All right.
well.
I think we're not thinking outside the box enough. What if we just mix all of our condiments in a cup, still have the hot dog straw, and you're able to suck them through and then just take a bite of hot dog? I think that's game changing.
That would make more
sense. In San Francisco,
sense.
that's a hit.
Fill it with chili, baby.
That would make more sense than drinking a beer with a hot dog as a straw.
I think the efficiency cannot be questioned there. Now I remember like in like middle school or grade school, like kids would take Twizzlers and like bite off either end and then like drink
Sour
soda
straws.
through them.
Yeah.
At like just bona fide sugar addicts, just out here mainlining the stuff directly into their systems. But yeah, the hot dog straw in the beer, a particularly grotesque situation, and I think that Lucas should be banned from any food opinions moving forward. Since
the other
he
thing
ate
about
that
that-
bag of taco-flavored jelly beans.
About the other thing about that thing, though, it wasn't just the way the fact that he was drinking it. It was the way he was going about it, which was a little. It's a different story altogether, a different show. But
Agreed. Let's get a caller in here, and then we'll get Kirby and Roberts. Caleb is in Nashville with the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Hey, guys. How are y'all today?
We're swell, bud.
Hey, really, the dumbest thing to me is the NHL thinking that all of their hockey players in Russia are going to have no issue getting back to the USA.
So what's the context? Give me a little more information, if you would, because I'm unfamiliar with the story.
Well, it just came across earlier today that the NHL is saying that they think all of the players that are in Russia now are going to have no trouble getting back with their visas. I just don't see how that's going to be possible with everything else that's going on between the U.S. and Russia. I think that's pretty stupid on their part.
I would agree with that. Russian NHL stars traveled home, quote, will they all be back? Yeah, that's a headline on The Athletic being discussed right now. Thank you for the call, Caleb. That is an interesting story. Of course that's going to provide complications. Drew in Murfreesboro with the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm going to go Deshaun Watson only being suspended 11 games for sexually assaulting multiple women when you've got guys like Calvin Ridley suspended a whole season for sports gambling and Josh Gordon, I want to say it was multiple seasons for smoking the devil's lettuce. I'm going to say that's the dumbest thing in sports.
Yeah, it would seem that, especially given more and more states legalizing, that the Josh Gordon stuff continues to look archaic. I've made my piece on Deshaun. Well, I haven't made my piece, but I've said my piece on Deshaun Watson. Kirby, what's the dumbest thing in sports this week?
Well, the Titans have been trying to change or at least utilize a light blue or the Columbia blue helmet for probably 6 or 7 years, and we've gotten a myriad of excuses from the NFL and different hurdles and things that have to go through and committees.
You're talking about the Oilers helmet?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
In less than 2 weeks, the Cardinals decide they want to go with a black helmet. Boom! They're wearing a black helmet.
You know that? Why is that? Have we gotten into, because the Titans aren't going to wear them until at least 2023, but I haven't had anybody explain it to me in a logical way.
The last explanation was that it took 4 years to get approved by the committees, and literally within less than 6 months, a magical black helmet showed up in Arizona.
Yeah, well, every team, it would seem, has a matte black alternative now, college and professional. Although Arizona Cardinals, I kind of get the colors on.
Oh, it looked good. I was just talking about the quickness in which it happened.
Updated caller list and text.
Charlie is in Franklin with the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Yes, love your show, always the best.
Thank you, buddy.
The dumbest thing to me was this morning, this guy saying that Tannehill ought to be playing, he wants to be playing. Just go back and think of all the years back, even the 2 games before this. There's got to be somebody, there's always somebody, a good player, that gets hurt in the preseason, and he's out 1 week, 2 weeks, sometimes 2 months, sometimes the whole season. To me, that's absolutely stupid, not dumb.
It's below dumb, really, really dumb. What was that clip? Hide your kids, hide your wife. With I can't remember what the context for that was, and now I can't remember if it's been so long ago that there are areas of that video that are problematic. I can't recall off the top of my head.
Somebody just broke in. Somebody broke into the house, trying to slide through the window, snatching their people up. So that's why you had to hide your kids and hide your wife.
Can't be snatching the people up. goodness. Robert, what's the dumbest thing in sports this week?
I'd like to open up with the dumbest joke in sports this week, which is what is Josh Gordon's favorite type of practice? A joint practice. That's terrible. Everyone groaned in your car collectively.
You just got people. There are fans in attendance for Titans practice today. You just got several stray looks that looked back at you and said, what the bleep did that guy just say on FM radio?
Don't worry about what I'm talking about. Worry about what's on the field.
All right, very
Ole
good.
Miss is doing an Ole Miss Heroes where they are honoring frontline healthcare workers.
Yes.
And it's a great thing. I'm glad they're doing
What are
that.
you about to rip and get me in trouble with frontline workers?
So they accepted submissions from you for your favorite frontline healthcare workers, and the internet never fails as they submitted a man who is not a doctor but plays one on television in Johnny Sins. So Johnny
Plays
Sins
one on television is how he described Johnny Sins. Excellent.
So in the graphic, you can see all these different healthcare workers smiling and posing in front of their patients, and then there's Johnny with a smile on, and everyone knows why he has a smile on his face. That's my dumbest thing.
It was on a cup, right? It was on a stadium cup. They put an adult film star
No.
on a stadium cup
Yes.
honoring healthcare workers.
Yeah, when Robert says that he's on television, that's only if you simulcast what's on your phone or tablet to your television.
Smart TV.
In the adult entertainment industry. 615-737-1045. Can somebody send me a picture? Can you guys DM me a picture of
He
this?
did.
It's in the DM.
All right, I will have to look at this. It's in the DM. I hear you, Robert. Swab Zombie in Nashville with the dumbest thing in sports this week. This ought to be good.
Hey guys, what's going on? So with all the Brady speculation, my dumbest thing would be for the critics and all those low IQ football junkies that think he's supposed to show up, every practice when obviously it was prearranged and had a lot to do with him retiring, coming out of retirement. Family time, guys. Family. So, again, those low IQ NFL junkies, that's the dumbest thing in sports.
That's a good one. Well, there's a lot of Brady theories going around about why he was not here for joint training camp practices, why he's just now returned to the team. We're going to talk about those coming up next because some of them are utterly absurd. And at some point in the next segment, Malik Willis is going to be here. 615-737-1045 is how you do the dumbest thing in sports this week. We'll take more of your phone calls next.
Friday night.
I got one here.
Country Financial.
Okay.
In week 2 of 1045
2-minute, not necessarily a successful one. Arizona on the other side, though, with Kyler quarterbacking, allowed time to expire, a 10-second runoff as they tried to set up for a field goal in their 2 minutes. So not necessarily clean operation on either side of things. I saw Julius Chestnut getting kind of chewed because he didn't get out of bounds and then toss the ball back to the official, which, of course, you are not supposed to do. Coaches will freak out if they see that because they want you to physically keep the ball in your hands, make sure it is in the official hands, and mitigate any possible time or flub or bobbled catch by the official, anything that would cost you precious milliseconds in 2-minute operation. Malik Willis is going to be over here after practice, so we'll catch up with the rookie quarterback. Then, in the meantime, you guys are fired up to go to ZZ Top. We got a 4-pack of tickets for you for the dumbest thing in sports this week. That concert is coming up at the amphitheater, First Bank Amphitheater on September 27th. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Let's go next to James in Nashville, who's got the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Hey, what's up, Buck? This is for coming out of NASCAR is what my dumber than sports is. And it goes to the Chase Elliott fan. Kyle Larson, his teammate, got into him on a late restart this weekend, and it's all over social media. All the fans crying that his teammate wrecked him, this and that. Well, if I was out there in NASCAR, I would wreck my bleeping bleep mom to win that race. So, guys, get over yourselves.
You know what? That's commitment. I think bonus points. I think bonus points for James in that spot.
Yes.
That was well done. Titans just finished up practice. It looks like both teams huddling respectively on different fields at this point, and Malik Willis will come over and join us here in just a second. I would be the same guy. I would be wrecking everybody out there if it meant that I would give me a competitive advantage. I don't care about etiquette. I've already told you I don't give a damn about sportsmanship. Like, I just want to win.
James is a good example of how delivery is just as important as substance when giving us the dumbest thing in sports this week for a chance at ZZ Top tickets.
What, are you biased because he made you laugh?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Let's see if Jason can change Lucas's bias, because Lucas, I think, is in charge of the ZZ Top tickets at this point. Jason is in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, I think I got the winner, guys.
All right.
All right, let's see. So we've got somebody that's stuck in Russia, right? But we're going to go send Dennis Rodman, the person that married himself, to go fish her out. I feel like that's the dumbest stuff in sports.
That may be the winner, because why Dennis Rodman is some kind of an envoy for the American government.
It's international correspondent Dennis Rodman.
No, that's not how it should be. Where else did he go? Didn't he
North Korea.
He went to North Korea.
Yeah, he's tight with Kim Jong-un.
That in of it itself just feels compromised. The sentence, he's tight with Kim Jong-un, makes me.
Rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
Thank you,
Hey,
Caleb
we
Farley.
joke, and then he's going to bring her back. Just watch. He's going to step off that plane with Brittany Griner.
Listen,
just wait. Just watch.
I hope for both Brittany, her family, for everybody involved in what has got to be an unrelenting hell of a situation.
She needs to be home.
At this point, as she's been held hostage basically by the Russian government. You look at a situation, and whatever it takes, I guess, but Dennis Rodman, to me, does not seem like the most diplomatic of answers. We will see. Maybe he'll teach them how to rebound, and that will be the key to all of their successes in life, and maybe that'll make Putin leave Ukraine or something like that. Who knows? Dennis Rodman can do it all. So as we get ready to talk to Malik Willis and kind of going over some things that we saw out here on the practice field today, who do you want to give the tickets to?
You know what? James made me giggle the most. So James, for his NASCAR submission, saying he would wreck his bleeping mom to win a race. I would like to give James the ZZ Top tickets.
I need to know what the bleep is in that context to feel comfortable about the situation. So congratulations, James. You're going to ZZ Top with a family 4-pack of tickets, September the 27th.
That's right.
So as we get ready to talk to Malik Willis over here, I think that what I saw today was a couple of different situations. I didn't see it myself, but I was talking to my buddy Sam Phelan at A to Z Sports, and he said Kyle Phillips outright dropped 3 punts, which is not a place that we have seen him struggle even once. Then, in the 2-minute situation out here, getting clocked by a safety who probably could have afforded to pull up a little more, but you understand that these guys get physical out here. Looks like Kyle Phillips is okay, and he did finish the practice. But it does not seem like Kyle Phillips had an overwhelmingly great day. I did not see anything to me that caught my attention in the 2-minute drill when they're working Cards versus Titans that looked like it was operationally sound. I saw Nick Petit-Frere false start, at least in one instance that cost them field position.
But every rep Petit-Frere took looked like it was with the ones.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think I told you guys this Monday, like, that job has never felt more closed.
It was yesterday, yeah. We talked about it yesterday.
I think I talked about it on Monday, too, after the preseason game. Because I had conversations, and there is a strong feeling within the organization that this is going to be their answer on the roster to right tackle right now. We'll see how roster cuts affect things the next couple of, or I guess next week, in ways that would allow them to explore a couple of different options if those options did arise. You want to – let's see. No, we already gave away the tickets. For those wondering, Teron is tweeting out, Teron Davenport of ESPN. For those wondering why Traylon Burks wasn't mentioned during hurry-up period, he went inside just after special teams. So that was something to keep an eye on. And other reports at this point about a lack of effectiveness from the Titans offense in a 2-minute drill.
I think both defenses kind of won the day in 2 minutes.
Yeah, Arizona.
Titans and Cardinals.
I did not see either defense move the ball.
Either offense, you mean?
All right, either offense move the ball in substantive ways. Sorry, I'm watching 17 different things. I'm trying to find where Malik is so I can keep an eye on him so I can understand. Kirby's out here running interference trying to figure out where everybody is at any given point. But we'll talk to him at some point in the next couple of minutes. 615-737-1045. If we can answer any questions about practice today, we'd be happy to. Something else that caught my attention last night, because I was doing the A to Z Instagram story questions. People ask me a lot about Danico Autry. And that dude, I don't have a video of Danico for 23 days. 23 days at this point. August 1st is the last time I have video evidence of him being on the practice field. Now, he may have had a practice since then, but that's something that is worth monitoring in ways that continue to become more relevant. I'm hoping that I'll be able to make it over there for Mike Vrabel's press conference because that's something I'd very, very much like to ask him, just the status and the progression and how somebody like DeMarcus Walker in a certain circumstance is going to be called upon and has basically been called upon over the last 3 weeks to give them meaningful reps. How big an impact do you think that would have if he's not completely ready to go? Because what we've seen from Walker out here, I've felt confident in their depth defensively on that defensive front basically all training camp long. Walker's for sure the best of them and the most able to give you consequential snaps and in relief of guys like Autry. And we'll see how else they deploy him depending on how much he's going to play on the edge versus a down defensive lineman the way that they sometimes do. But DeMarcus Walker, he's basically, I have to consider him a starter at this point because he's been a starter for the last month.
Yeah, you got to think he's on the roster. I saw Jim Wyatt. I read his mailbag earlier this morning on TennesseeTitans.com, and he was asked about Danico Autry. And Jim's take on it was, he said, as for Autry, I'll be honest, he hasn't been out there a whole lot. I just think the team is saving his legs and not wanting to push him too much leading up to the season. His work was limited some last year as well, but he sure produced in games, and I think you'll see him do that again in 2022.
That's Jimmy's mailbag?
Yes, that's Jim Wyatt's perspective of saving legs when it comes to Danico Autry. And again, he's not on any lists.
He's on the Kawhi Leonard. Well, they don't have to tell us really about the vast majority of the lists. The lists are not they don't have to disclose lists quite yet, many lists quite yet.
Sure, but if it's something that would make you think he would miss any games at this point, you imagine the PUP list would be involved.
Yes, and I'm curious.
I mean, you never know with this team.
Well, yeah, I don't try to be too definitive about it's clearly an injury situation. They're clearly working through something with him. And Mike Vrabel, the standard answer from Vrabel on players that are dealing with injury is that each guy is on an individual plan, and he's progressing just fine, and on and on and on it goes, those kind of things. But I do think, a conversation about Walker we need to be having that more just based on who may or may not be available for week one as these things start to come down. Because I had some Arizona media members ask me about the Titans being super banged up. They assumed that the Titans were super banged up because of the situation for the joint training camp practices and this being the only day of on-field work that the two teams are going to do together. But it's not really something that we've talked about a whole lot. Like you've had the odd Dylan Cole. Elijah Molden did not practice today. Something to keep in mind. But there's been just a few guys on the fringes that have not been available.
Nate Davis, another one.
Nate Davis the last couple of days for sure. Nate did, again, not practice today, which is why Mike Vrabel said they were doing so much shuffling on the offensive line. But Dylan Radin's played inside more than he played at tackle at any point, right or left tackle.
Yeah.
And almost exclusively with the twos from my standpoint. So I believe we have a starting offensive line, kids.
Yeah, it seems that way. And I didn't think that would be settled so quickly. And if it was going to be settled that quickly, I think all of us would have said it's because it's Dylan Radin's at right tackle.
Yeah, but don't you agree that they need to, like, if they know the answer, shouldn't they start to give those reps to the guy they know they're going to need the most?
Well, that's what they've done.
No, I know. I guess it just kind of asking you about or responding to your surprise in that moment that I think is something that you gotta keep in mind. So as far as what is going to take place tomorrow, they're going to practice. They're going to be out here on the field, and Arizona will be at Vanderbilt, it sounds like, for their time until they play this preseason game on Saturday. I am curious to know how many players actually play, given that it's the last preseason week. Because I was honestly surprised to see as many starters as they had out there after the earlier conditions on Saturday that caused that Nissan Stadium field to be a little less solid. I don't think there's any benefit. Like, who benefits the most from playing in these preseason games? Guys like Malik, guys like Des Fitzpatrick, Caleb Farley. I think I would like to see a lot of reps. I don't think I need to see Roger McCreary. So top three corners are who for the Titans if Elijah Molden is healthy?
If he is healthy?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a conversation. I mean, it's Molden, it's Fulton, and then it's between McCreary and Farley. McCreary, I mean, is it a stretch to say he's been a little more consistent than Caleb Farley in training camp?
No, it's factually accurate at this point. Because you say it's a conversation. I don't think it's a terribly close one.
Yeah.
I think McCreary, if Molden is healthy and they can play him in the slot, I think you're going to see a situation where it's McCreary and Fulton on the outside, as I've been talking about for the last 3 weeks at this point. And I think for the purposes of the Titans, that may be in their best interest. We're going to carry Mike Vrabel's press conference. Malik Willis is going to be here as well. Stick around. 104.5 The Zone.
Non-stop Titans talk.
sit down with us after joint work against the Arizona Cardinals. What's going on, boss?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Man, we're living. We're living. Just enjoying the show that y'all have been putting on out here for the past couple of weeks, and really seemed like it was a competitive what little joint work you got. I know a lot of 2-minute stuff, but it looked competitive from our vantage point anyway.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to get back out there, get some work, get ready for this week's preseason game, and getting to practice with those guys is cool. And we just take whatever work we can get.
How beneficial has it been for you to kind of see the different looks that these two different defenses have brought in after kind of practicing it against the same personnel, same kind of defense the last couple of weeks before joint practice?
I think it's really cool seeing how different defensive coordinators utilize their players and try to play different coverages. And maybe they got a strong defensive front, so they try to pressure you and play a lot of man or play a lot of zone, try to confuse you, just a whole bunch of different stuff. And it's really cool to see and just get to experience this for the first time.
And it seems like obviously it's competitive and there's a lot of strain that goes into these things, but at least from our perspective, it looks like you're really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's football. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all it is. And the only thing they got on you is a little bit of experience. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it. And so it makes it even more fun. It's like, all right, they done been through this 1,000 times, and this is my 5th time going through it. So how am I going to, go out there and make sure I'm doing what I need to do to learn from it?
Titans quarterback Malik Willis here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So from that standpoint, where you try to put goals in front of you and you kind of work towards certain things, and obviously everybody is trying to be in the best position they can to help the team. But how has this felt for you, just the flow of the last couple of weeks of what training camp has been, and do you feel like you've gotten as much out of it as humanly possible?
Hey, man, at the end of the day, I'm blessed to be in training camp.
Sure.
I got a lot of friends and a lot of teammates, a lot of people that's not in training camp right now. So I'm taking it all in as if, it's the biggest I'm going to get. So I'm just appreciating the coaches for trying to help me out, and all my teammates. We rallying and working together every day. And then, like you say, we're getting this ability to go with these different teams and see these different coverages, see these different fronts, see these different call styles from defensive coordinators. And it's just been really cool, and it's been really helpful.
What have you thought of the environment at Nissan Stadium? I know it's the first home game that you've gotten to play there, and you've played in big college football games before, but this is still the first sample size for everybody else to kind of see the work that you guys are putting in. How did you like the preseason?
It's cool. I mean, I got a lot to fix. I mean, and I feel like it's even better to go out there and not perform at what you feel like your best is, and still, not perform terribly. Sure. I feel like that's really good, and you just have a lot to just learn from, and you rather learn from it right now than, when you go through adversity later on. You already have faced adversity and want to know how to fix it. That's what I really enjoy about this preseason.
And it seems like, at least, again, untrained eyes, it seems like you're making that kind of progress incrementally and kind of taking advantage of some of those mistakes that you may make in a certain spot, or maybe you're seeing something different than you might have when you go back and watch it back on practice film. But it seems like that coaching and that progression for you has been a pretty smooth process.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, that's about getting 1% better every day. I mean, you want to, go overnight and have everything figured out, but it doesn't work like that, especially not at the position I'm playing. It takes work, it takes practice, and it takes a lot of reps and a lot of looks. And it's just understanding that you can't get all those in one day. And you got to be able to take those mental reps behind Logan and behind Ryan and just understand, what you're actually looking at and looking for. That'll help you make these decisions quicker and just be able to see what you're trying to accomplish from each play.
I know there has to be so many different things that you've learned since you got here, I think, mid-May after the draft. But one thing about the quarterback position that you know now that you were not necessarily sure of, or that you found out throughout the course of the training camp, the mandatory minicamp, OTAs, all the different work, what's been like the thing that's caught you, maybe not most off guard, but kind of surprised you about how much this position involves?
I don't think anything surprised me. I was kind of looking forward to it. Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
But for you, has it been, I guess, the transition into this environment, has there been anything that's kind of, that a welcome to the NFL moment, for lack of a better term, just kind of something that you've been working through that you haven't necessarily seen before, or things that you may not have had to experience yet that you've gotten to experience in the last couple of weeks?
I mean, ever since I got here, working the huddle, that was probably the biggest thing at first, because you go from having 25 seconds, 30 seconds on the play clock because we're going fast and we're in no huddle, to having 15 and the mic cutting off at 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's you better get it while you live. You better get up there and be able to make these checks and be able to see what's going on and get the snap off within a timely manner.
Was that kind of like disorienting the first time you went through it?
And practice?
Yeah.
No, because he didn't have a time limit. But I think that helped, though, being able to practice that every day.
How are you settling into the city? Obviously, you've been here for a little while now, and I know it's all ball almost all the time. But are you enjoying Nashville? It seems like people have really embraced having you here.
Hey, good food and warm weather. That's all I need.
No question about it.
Yes, sir.
Well, Malik, we really appreciate you sitting down with us. Thanks for stopping by. Continued health and success, and good luck on Saturday.
I appreciate y'all.
That's Titans quarterback Malik Willis, kind enough to give us some time.
Tannehill's up.
Here with us on 104.5 The Zone. From one Titans quarterback to another, Ryan Tannehill's at the podium. We'll carry that live right now.
There, but yeah, I feel really.
Mics are off.
The ability to read defenses and. Yeah, he's become a much more rounded receiver. Obviously, he has that.
Good?
Yep.
Okay.
That everyone knows he has, but he's becoming more and more rounded the longer he's here. So, getting more opportunity. He's made a bunch of plays for us, so he's gotten more opportunity, and just hope to keep the foot on the gas with him and keep developing him.
What is your role in the development of Nick as he grows into that right tackle position?
It's kind of twofold, right? Just leading, encouraging, and then also holding him accountable. Obviously, if he's in there, we're going to need him to play at a high level and operate the way we expect to operate. And then also it's loving him up and letting him know when he does a good job, and that we have a lot of confidence in him being able to block effectively both in the run and pass game.
We shouldn't make too much of what basically amounted to be a half practice against the opponent, but can you learn a lot from, I guess, the new mistakes that happened today?
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, we didn't, come out with a full plan against all the looks that Arizona was going to throw at us. There's an aggressive coordinator, aggressive defense, and threw a bunch of different looks at us. So, we knew we were probably going to get a bunch of crazy looks. Didn't know exactly what they're going to be. They ended up being things that you don't see too often in the NFL. But it's good work for us. A lot of looks we can learn from, and we're going to play other teams that have pressure packages and personnel packages where they're moving guys around, playing, down lineman, backer, nickel, safety, and going to have to be able to identify those and block them when we get those opportunities.
Had such a good camp, and he had an off day today. He said it himself. Seemed extremely frustrated, but how much maybe can that benefit sometimes, just having that off day, going back and looking at the things you didn't do right or maybe what went wrong?
Right, everything's a learning experience, right? So especially on days that maybe things didn't go the way you wanted them to, you take a real critical look and have, more than one thing to say, okay, I can fix that tomorrow, right? Some days on a good day, it's only like one or two little things. You say, okay, I fix this, tweak that. Day doesn't go your well, you might have 4, 5, 6, 7 things. You can say, okay, I can do this different. So it's all an opportunity, and as long as we're learning from those opportunities and not making the same mistake when it comes up again, we're getting better and we'll be better for it.
At this point in your career, Ryan, how do you self-assess days like that you may have out in camp?
Same way as I did, whenever I was younger. I think you look at situations for what they are. I think when you're evaluating plays, for me now, it's like, okay, was my decision right? Was I in the right spot? Did I make the right adjustment? And does the ball in the right location? And so just constantly going through play in, play out, talking with the coaching staff on what led me to a certain area of the field, what led me to a certain read, and how could I fix that? What's my thought process? Making sure I'm on the same page with those guys. But yeah, it's constant. Whether it's little things with footwork or adjustments in the pass protection, adjustments to the route, getting back to a certain part of the read quicker. It's all fluid. So it's a constant learning experience.
Of past pro, Ryan, and days like today, when there's obviously no contact with the quarterback, do you still get an idea of what the pass pro is like for you?
Yeah, no doubt. You feel it, right? You feel proximity and colors of jerseys in your area. So, yeah, just like everything out there today, there was some good and there was some things that we need to improve upon. So, good opportunity for us to take a real look at the tape and make those adjustments.
How often over the course of the season does that happen in a game? And what is the process for adjusting to that so that perhaps you don't have what happened out there in 2 minutes when you're seeing something you're not ready for?
Yeah, it happens occasionally during the season. Less, definitely way less during the season. Just so you have a lot of tape to look at, and it may be one look as opposed to a bunch that you weren't prepared for. So just be able to, when those situations come up, stay true to your process. Try to make the best decision protection-wise that with the rules that we've been given to make, and then take care of the football. Whether it's throwing it away or just being safe with it. Just making sure that you're not making a bad situation worse by doing something reckless with football.
Do you think you need to play in the preseason, or do you feel like the work you've done so far has gotten you ready?
I don't think I need to play. We'll see what Coach Vrabel wants me to do. I feel like I've gotten a lot of really good work out here with the.
I'll pull that, Lucas.
Excited about what's in front of us here this next couple weeks to keep tuning up things and.
He said, "I don't need to play." Like that said?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. We'll see what happens this weekend.
Back
but
as soon as he's done.
I feel really.
Okay.
And hope to continue making it as we move forward. Thank you.
That is Tennessee Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill at the podium at St. Thomas Sports Park. You heard him. Not going to play in preseason game number 3 against the Arizona Cardinals Saturday night at Nissan Stadium. When we come back, we'll hear from the head coach, Mike Vrabel. We'll recap the lone day of joint practice the Titans have this week against the Cardinals and some more tickets to give away. Hour number 3 of the Buck Reising Show next on 104.5 The Zone.
About 4 minutes, Lucas.
All right, cool.
Even bad.
I'm running to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Who is this woman? I gotta get to her.
I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, like, the emotions are, kidding me now. And who am I?
All of that is frightening. The 3HL with Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, and Ron Slay. Today, starting at 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
Sponsored by Farm Safe 811.
Farm Safe 811 starts with you. Always
and the stuff that we're coaching. We talked about the number of attempts that we had coming out of that football game last week defensively to see that carry over, and then we have to be better, offensively. We have to be strong to the tuck and, take care of the football. We know how critical that is, and that'll be the case the entire season.
Derek getting some team period reps today. How is that process coming along as far as just getting him ready for the season and making sure that he's up to speed?
Good. I mean, he's involved in all the meetings, and I'm going to try to have a plan with him and try to, get him prepared, and thought today would be a good day to get him some reps. Might get a little bit of work tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. But I think he's in a good spot.
Is that something that you more or less you monitor from day to day, or how do you go about planning out what workload he's going to get?
Well, I mean, obviously we talk about it every day, Frank and I and Todd, and we monitor each and every player and their health and where they're at. So ultimately a lot of that falls on Frank and his staff. I kind of oversee it and decide when he'll enter back into practice.
There was one fourth down, Mike, where Malik looked like he threw the ball away. Lose track of downs there, or
should ask Malik.
How much, back to Derek for a minute, how much do you take input from him as far as putting him out here in the team periods and things
well,
like
he
that?
wants to. I mean, Derek wants to be as involved as possible, so we have open dialogue, and he's been great, and he's been all for whatever it is that we decide we think is best for him and ultimately the team.
Theo out for a little while, reemerges and is moving around again. The versatility plug right back in, or is a guy when he misses time kind of lose out on some of the ability to play multiple positions like that?
Well, a lot of that is just necessity, So started working at safety, and then got to look and see what you have and try to figure out somebody's got to go there, and you got to have at least two deep. So we figured we'd try him at nickel today.
Mike, what do you think of Malik's poise, accuracy, and decision-making in the 7-on-7 period?
I thought it was improved. I thought that there was some good timing. We talked about something that came up yesterday against zone and how quickly that ball should be delivered and where it needs to go. And so I thought that there were some accurate balls, standing where I was in the 7-on-7.
Several players talked about the fact that mistakes happen, but what you hope is they're new mistakes, not repeat mistakes. Does a day like today expose a great teaching lesson off of it?
I'll be ready.
Mistakes are going to be part of this game. It's part of life, how you handle them, how you come back, and not trying to make, like you said, the same mistake twice or let them kind of mount up, let them start to snowball and just continue to think about, what it is that you, did wrong, and we got to move on. There's a lot of snaps in the game. There's a lot of ups and downs, and we got to try to find a way that no matter what the result of the play was, just get back to neutral, get back centered, and find a way to do our job the next snap, figure out what the situation is. Is it third down? Is it 2nd and 10? Where am I at on the field? What personnel group they're at? There's so many things that, we try to get them to think about next as opposed to the mistake they made. So, we'll look at it and we'll continue to coach it. And I thought it was a good day of work.
Stonehouse proven to be an effective holder. Is that kind of a wash in terms of the competition?
Yeah, Stoney, I think, doesn't have as much experience as Brett does.
I'll pull this.
Working them in there and trying to get them as many of those opportunities as we can.
What's your level of concern with Traylon at this point with the lack of consistency?
I don't really try to get overly concerned. I try to coach and try to figure out who's available each and every day. We've been through a lot. It's a long season. And whether it's Traylon, whether it's Deshaun Hand, whether it's, go right on down the list of, guys that, may or may not be there, we just put the next guy in. That's what we've always done. That's what we're going to continue to do. And that's how it goes.
That is Titans head coach Mike Vrabel at the podium at St. Thomas Sports Park. And that does it for joint practices in the 2022 preseason. Lucas Panzica broadcasting live from Titans training camp on 104.5 The Zone as Buck Reising makes his way over from the podium setup. So didn't really hear from Mike Vrabel as far as who he plans to play or not play Saturday night against Arizona, but did hear Ryan Tannehill say he doesn't necessarily feel he needs to play in the preseason. Obviously, he deferred to Coach Vrabel in the moment there on that final decision, but I imagine that would indicate you will not see Ryan Tannehill at all in the 2022 preseason. Not that we thought you would anyway, but Tannehill remarking he feels like he's been able to get all the work that he's needed throughout these joint practices at training camp. And worth remembering, the Titans only had one joint practice a year ago, and it was down in Tampa against the Bucs, a more full-strength Buccaneers group than they saw this year. But today, a valuable practice against the Cardinals. They did some one-on-ones early on, some 2-minute team drills in the latter part of practice. Didn't have as much in the middle there as they did against Tampa Bay. But a few notes if you're just joining us here on 104.5 The Zone. Earlier today in those one-on-ones, I was over watching Titans defensive back, specifically against DeAndre Hopkins. Saw Christian Fulton with some good coverage on Hopkins in one of those one-on-ones. Hopkins catching the ball anyway, using his physicality to go up and get it against Christian Fulton, but Caleb Farley with a good PBU against number 10, and Roger McCreary getting beat for a touchdown against Nuke Hopkins as well. Malik Willis sat down with us earlier. You can catch that on the podcast later on the 104.5 The Zone podcast network, wherever you get your podcast. The biggest takeaway from that conversation, as Buck Reising makes his way over, when he talks about the transition from the up-tempo offense, that RPO offense under Gus Malzahn at Liberty, and the 25-second play clock he was operating under there compared to operating a huddle at the NFL level. I mean, that we felt like was going to be the biggest adjustment for him anyway. Buck, how do you feel like he has responded to growing within that adjustment of just operating a huddle in a pro-style system, something he's literally never done until training camp started a few weeks ago?
You know, I mean, it's a one-day sample size for me, but like what I was able to see of Malik Willis, it looked like one of his sharper days of practice. That was something that Mike Vrabel, I'm sure you just heard, complimented. I don't mean to regurgitate anything that you've already been through, but the timing and the accuracy, something that was thought highly of from Malik today. And I thought that kind of, even though the offense for all three offensive groups for the Titans, and frankly the Cardinals didn't do much offensively either, as we discussed. But I think Malik has managed that well, and I think today was a good example of what it can look like when he's in rhythm, when he's comfortable, and I thought that flowed. Now, again, they kind of botched their 2-minute circumstance. It's not like there's not going to be some bumps and bruises, and just because Malik looks crisp doesn't mean that the product around him when you're working with 2s and 3s is necessarily going to hold up that way. But certainly from what we saw today, I thought this was the best practice of Malik Willis that I've seen.
I hardly saw any Logan Woodside today.
Sure, but
we knew they were limiting his reps.
If you saw hardly any Logan Woodside, it's a good thing because they need the other guy to get the reps. I know what Logan Woodside looks like. They know what Logan Woodside looks like. I know what Dylan Radins looks like. They know what Dylan Radins looks like. Give the snaps to the other guys because you need them more.
So Mike Vrabel talking about Derrick Henry being in a good spot. He didn't mention
Wait,
anything.
are you driving now? What the hell just happened?
Well, I don't know. You sat down in the passenger seat. What do you want from me? Ryan Tannehill.
Wait. Are you interviewing me?
What? He's going to sit here and bark and look around like, oh, what's happening? Oh my God. Or just answer the damn question.
I'm confused.
Who do you think plays in the preseason game on Saturday? Of any veterans, of any starters that we saw play in week 2 of the preseason, do you think we see any more in week 3?
Farley and Fulton, maybe. Amani Hooker seemed to get out of it what he was looking for. I'd be surprised if like Bud Dupree and Lawan. Like Lawan, I thought it was funny when I think it was Steve Lehman asked him, do you want to play more in the preseason? And he just kind of looked at him and said, I'll do whatever Vrabel wants me to do, which, again, would speak to my theory that they asked him to go in there for a couple snaps in the last preseason game to just give Malik Willis time to get a pass off. But I think, for Derrick, I think it was notable that he got team reps today. We don't see Derrick do a lot of that. Now, one day against the Cardinals in a smaller sample size of work is probably an ideal circumstance. But, DeMarcus Walker probably going to play. I think that guys like Laurel Murchison, who you would consider a vet, this is heading into their 3rd year, those guys are going to play. But, frontline starters and name brand known commodities that we have on this team right now, I don't think it's necessary. You heard Tannehill kind of, I don't think I need to play.
Yep.
And he's right. He doesn't need to play. It's Winning Wednesday. Can I drive again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You got upset with me. I wasn't answering your question. It's okay. That's the first time we've had on-air tension.
Oh, is that the first time?
I think so. Right? Oh, maybe not for me. I don't know. I can't speak for you. You're encased in a glass tomb back there for 90% of our work life together. It's Winning Wednesday with the Nashville Sounds. Be caller number 5 for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Sounds take on the Memphis Redbirds next Wednesday. That is August 31st at First Horizon. 615-737-1045. Caller number 5. We got a pair of tickets for you to see the Sounds versus the Redbirds. All right, so we'll go through some more practice observations. I'll talk about a little something I was curious about that Ryan Tannehill had to say today, as Dusty Sands tweets us, Lucas, to me, the I am the captain now gif from Captain Phillips. So that's excellent.
That is what happened.
There's a mutiny. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Buck, Tennessee men's
was.
Welcome back. Live from Titans training camp.
The audio now.
So this is our last day out here, bud.
It is. It is. Now can I talk about the weather? Is that okay?
Yeah? Well, I don't know, Robert. How have you felt the first time experience, the first day and the last day that you get? That you're, I feel, the reason why we're being kicked off the practice field now that you're in attendance.
Yeah, it's hot as hell.
God, put the microphone closer to your face.
I could not get this any closer to my face unless it was inside of this orifice.
That's the point.
That I'm eating out of.
Stick it in there.
It's hot as hell out here, man. I wouldn't come back here if y'all paid me.
Oh, come on.
I'm just kidding. I had a great time.
Before we leave, you have to say whippersnapper.
Yo, whippersnapper?
Okay, no, the two of you. Why? That's the first. Like, I feel like this should be a buddy cop comedy.
Bert and Curb?
Bert and Kirby. I've never heard Kirby feel confident enough in somebody else's voice to do imitations of their voice while also sounding the way that Kirby does.
I don't know if I should be – all you guys that make me sound like I am the biggest Beverly Hills hillbilly ever. Like I just rolled in out of the hayfield, and I'm just over here running y'all's social, running this daggum stream thing.
You said daggum.
He just won my argument.
Yeah, it's over. That's what do you?
No, I love it. I love it though. It's great.
No, I know.
This is the guy that has lived.
Like, she's got a great personality. Come on, give her a shot. Give her a shot.
You'll love her.
That matters to some people.
She can cook.
Oh God!
But I have lived in this state since 1976, and I have not developed the twang.
Well, but you are from actual like the hills, like you're out there, right?
I mean the triad. I mean by definition the triad's at the foot of the mountains, but
I don't know what that means.
Not the triad.
The triad of North Carolina. The triad. If you look up.
So
triad.
like D.C., Maryland, and Virginia is called the DMV.
Okay.
The triad is just a geographic location.
Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point.
Gotcha.
Yes. So that is the dialect.
Backer country.
I don't understand. Kirby has been fascinated with the sound of Robert's voice.
Oh, I love it, man. It's Walter Brennan, reincarnated.
Nobody knows who that is.
That's diabetes.
Well, no, no, Walter Brennan does.
Oh, that's
you have diabetes?
That's Wilford Brennan. Used to do the old Hatfield McCoy's television show way back long before any of you were born.
Oh, Walter Brennan died in 74, Kirby. That's
Kirby, bleep you.
That's not even fair.
Nobody's going to know anybody who died in 1974.
I do.
Okay. You're the one.
Hell, I was in junior high school in 1974.
God. Let's not.
Have we stalled long enough for Brett to cut this stuff up yet? You cut this stuff, Brett?
No. What are you, self-conscious?
I'm running out of stuff to say. What do you want? Can I ask y'all a question though?
Sure.
Yesterday y'all were talking about. You wanted to know if Brett Kern was still on the pictures on the wall. What's the fancy word for that, Lucas?
Oh,
banner?
Just the banners
banner.
outside the stadium.
That's the word I was looking for, banner. And I realized that I have no earthly idea what that guy looks like. Can anybody pick out of a lineup any specialist not named Justin Tucker? And that's not because I'm a Ravens fan.
Yes, the one you just mentioned, Brett Kern.
You know what he looks like. Y'all are kissing face over there at press conferences every week. Could a regular person tell you what a punter looks like? I know what their body shape is. I don't know what they look like.
Well, Stonehouse is pretty unmistakable with the hair.
He looks like my brother who was successfully able to go to college and not be addicted to having fun and going out and partying.
Yeah, he looks like a surfer.
Well, I think that those things can be parallels, I think, to some degree. But yes, Robert also has luscious flow that Ryan Stonehouse, the punter, has displayed. But yes, I think a lot of people for their team could pick out of the lineup their specialist, except for the Tennessee Titans fans because they had like 6 kickers in a year.
He is a California kid, Kirby.
He looks it.
Okay, enough.
Well, before we get back to what you're supposed to, one more thing. You're from the racing region, the triad there. Say up on my deck lid for me.
Up on my deck lid.
Oh no, he goes.
He did.
He goes academic on us right here.
Up on my deck lid.
Carefully, he said deck.
Phonetics.
D-E-C-K. Deck.
He should be like a NASCAR driver, mad, getting out of the car, going, "Well, he got open my deck lid." That's the rear end of the car.
All right.
I'm not your dancing bear.
That concludes the Kirby and Bert show.
For me.
Bert and Kirby.
Bert and Curb.
Coming to Netflix in October 2022. Excellent. Malik Willis' best day of practice is what I observed today. I thought he was sharp. I thought the timing and the pocket presence was improved. This was something that we talked about him. So what did you make of the interview that we did with Malik? Because I was trying to find different things for him to talk about without regurgitating the same eyes and marrying it with footwork and talk about the touchdown, because I just did that with him on Saturday. So I was trying to look for different ways to get him to talk about different things that he's experiencing at the position. And I thought his comments about just operating in a huddle was a bit of a foreign concept for him. Obviously, he's played quarterback for a tremendous amount of time at this point. It's not that drastically different. There are drastic differences, but for him, I thought that was a kind of curious thing when Mike Vrabel brings up operation, and when you're kind of determining, okay, what logic, what could the possible explanation be for them to keep Logan Woodside on this roster. I thought just by general discussion of the huddle and the operations of that before the play, that's something that's consequential for a Titans backup quarterback to need to have a good grasp on.
Yeah, it was kind of a reminder of the 101 level things that Malik Willis hadn't done any of ever in his career before he came here to the Tennessee Titans, working under center, operating a huddle that's not up-tempo, 25-second play clock, cutting the field in half with an RPO, 1 to 2 reads max on every play. Like, it's not too different from the Josh Heupel offense, right? Like we talk about, Josh Heupel quarterbacks are great in college. They put up huge numbers, but rarely does that translate in the NFL. You're seeing that right now with Drew Lock, and you can't name a Heupel quarterback throughout his time as a play caller that has found that sustained success at the next level. Malik Willis was in a Gus Malzahn offense. It's hard to name a Gus Malzahn quarterback that's been able to make that transition at the next level.
Just a couple corners that converted for a season and then went to a national championship.
Yeah, Nick Marshall. And Nick Marshall got to the league. He made a training camp as a defensive back, right? And then never made a 53-man roster, not to my knowledge at least. But also I talked with the morning show about this morning. Think about what Mike Vrabel has always looked for in a backup quarterback. Like, with the exception of Ryan Tannehill backing up Mariota, because that was just a unique situation, they want their backup to have the institutional knowledge of a Logan Woodside, not because they're going to ask him to do the things that they would ask Ryan Tannehill to do, but because they would ask him to execute that specific game plan for that day on the way that they would work around not having Ryan Tannehill like they did with Blaine Gabbert in 2018, somehow finding a way to win with a fake punt and other factors that went into winning that game. So that's what Logan Woodside, like, the performance has to matter at some point.
Safe.
And he's turning the ball over, but he would know what to do with that specific game plan. They're not going to ask him to do the things that they would ask Ryan Tannehill to do.
That's a well-made point. And I think it kind of comes back to, it was always a joking point. Why are they bringing back Will Compton again when they brought him back, I think, in the COVID year? I think Will's second stint on the roster
it wasn't last season.
2020, right. It's because, despite his best efforts, Will's not an idiot. Like, he knows their defensive plays.
Despite his best efforts.
I mean, it truly is despite his best efforts. I'm still trying to convince him that he's dressing like a 14-year-old on TikTok, but, I'll fight that battle another day. For guys like that, when you have questions, the Mason Kinseys of the world, Will Compton, Darren Bates, like guys who are on fringe rosters but make careers out of it, you have to recall that they know things about the playbook beyond what it is to physically execute the play and have the physical ability to perform the way that a professional athlete needs to perform. But again, how quickly he grasps this, he being Malik Willis, will determine whether they do it whether they feel comfortable moving on from Woodside or putting him on the practice squad at the start of the year, or whether they wait till they're bye week 6 weeks in. Yeah. They could make some roster moves. They could reevaluate, reassess, take the additional time and preparation, keep Woodside in the interim, make the math work elsewhere, and then roll into the season at least with a contingency plan should Malik not be fully ready, as it seems like he may need a little more time to do. Completely fine that he does, by the way.
I mean, it's a huge decision because, as we've talked about, if you keep 3 quarterbacks, somebody's losing their job. And I feel like we've consistently talked about it in the context of that would be a wide receiver. Like, maybe that's the difference between keeping 6 and 5. I don't know that would be the case. But it's just a massive decision to make here because it's going to cost you somewhere else on the roster. So that's what they're weighing right now, is going down to 2. Because if they go down to 2, it's obviously Willis and Tannehill.
Right.
Because you're not putting Malik Willis on the practice squad. So if you go down to 2, is cutting Logan Woodside worth it to keep an extra player in X spot on the 53?
It's a great question. We talked about a variety of different things with both Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill today at the podium. Something that was worth listening to, the idea, since we're on the subject of quarterbacks, the idea of Tannehill not thinking that he needs to play in the preseason. Here's the Titans starter earlier today.
I don't think I need to play. We'll see what Coach Vrabel wants me to do. I feel like I've gotten a lot of really good work out here with the guys. Excited about what's in front of us here this next couple weeks to keep tuning up things and learn from days like today. So, we'll see what happens this weekend, but I feel really good about the progress we've made and hope to continue making it as we move forward.
Does that answer your question, Ed in Nashville? Isn't that who called in and saying that Ryan Tannehill should be itching to play in the preseason? Again, I default to the Lewan look that he gave Steve Lehman when Steve asked Taylor if he wants to play more in the preseason. I'll do whatever the coaching staff wants me to do. And if they feel that he needs to play, then he'll play. And in all likelihood, they'll say, bleep it, he looks fine in practice. Let's roll this thing out. Let's bubble wrap everybody of any kind of importance, and let's see what we need to fill out the rest of our roster with. So Malik should start again on Saturday. We didn't ask him that. I assume they don't know yet, nor do I think he'd necessarily disclose that. But I assume Malik Willis is going to get all three of these preseason starts as he tries to get up to speed. And as Tannehill gets ready for the regular season, now we're in the part of this where they can actually start to game plan for the personnel of the Bills in a new defensive look, given that Wink Martindale, their DC, or their new DC, is coaching under Brian Daboll, their new head coach. A lot of preparation going to need to go into this, even though they've played both of these coaches. That's what games are. It's coaches versus coaches. It's hardly – the players matter, of course. Some players matter more than others. But in a certain situation, in those kind of circumstances, it's game planning for the opposing coaching staff and their style, their tendencies. Now the focus for the starters can be on New York on September 11th. Another interesting thing that I thought Ryan Tannehill said was about Nicholas Petit-Frere, who, again, as Lucas, I think, mentioned earlier in the show, is taking all the first-team reps at right tackle right now. This is what Tannehill said of the rookie.
I mean, it's kind of twofold, right? Just leading, encouraging, and then also holding him accountable. Obviously, if he's in there, we're going to need him to play at a high level and operate the way we expect to operate. And then also it's loving him up and letting him know when he does a good job, and that we have a lot of confidence in him being able to block effectively both in the run and pass game.
So progress being made by the rookie right tackle, even if you don't feel necessarily swell about him starting week one. It's better than the other guy who continues to work with the twos inside. Petit-Frere, the false start today, I think was one of the biggest things that I noticed, and I think the point was made earlier that, he's probably going to do that a lot.
Yeah, and Tannehill ripped into him.
Well, as he should.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you ask me the best thing that I like about Ryan Tannehill, other than saving me as a somebody who works in this, other than saving me from an unwatchable style of football for the first couple of years that I was down here, thank God for Ryan Tannehill's presence in that starting lineup. I look at what he does on the practice field and how much he gets into dudes immediately after a bad rep. Overcorrect is the wrong word, but he is right there in their face with the correction. You need to do this right for me. And he understands that kind of urgency. He's trying to convey it to the rest of his teammates out there because nobody, I don't think, on this roster is under more pressure in 2022 than Ryan Tannehill. And I think he's always been like that. That's something when the change was made from Mariota to Tannehill. I remember talking to A.J. Brown specifically about it, and he said, Ryan really is so specific with certain elements, almost every element of what we are being asked to do, because he wants to know exactly where we're going to be at what point in the timing of his drop. And, of course, that's essential for a quarterback that plays and needs to play, as most do, with timing and rhythm. And something for Ryan Tannehill is he's not going to have his rhythm disrupted because his rookie right tackle can't get the snap count down.
Yeah, well, he's had to do that in this training camp more than any other since he's been with the Titans. Because
what kind of chirp at the rookies?
Yeah, there's just so much youth around him. And not only that, for the guys that aren't rookies, it's still new faces. I mean, it's still Austin Hooper, who he's never worked with before this past spring. It's still Robert Woods, who he's never worked with. Like, literally everybody not named Nick Westbrook-Akina. He's had to nail those things down with. So it's been such a big talking point throughout camp, and I feel like it's been overblown to a point where, Tannehill's finally taking ownership. He always did, but there's a difference between having Julio Jones on the practice field and the way you talk to him about something versus a rookie in Kyle Phillips.
So that's an interesting point because maybe it's just by nature of not seeing them practice together so often with Tannehill and Julio. But you're right. I don't recall a moment where Ryan Tannehill would get up into Julio Jones's face that way.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. It's not something I had considered. That is a critically important point for why that connection and chemistry never kind of manifested the way that it did, obviously, other than the two of them missing critical practice time when one or the other was on the field.
Yeah, I feel like Julio, the amount of time that he missed probably has more to do with it.
Sure.
But with Tannehill, it's just been out of necessity that you have to do these things with such a young crop of receivers and tight ends.
615-737-1045. Last call for phone calls. We'll wrap things up, do some polls, get you out of here, at least for our portion of the programming on this Wednesday, live from St. Thomas Sports Park, 1045 The Zone.
Country Financial.
God damn, how many ads they got today? geographically different locations. The Titans out here, the Cardinals at Vanderbilt. The preseason game Saturday night at Nissan Stadium. Titans radio on the call. Coverage begins at 5 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone. And I'm on, what, at 3? That sounds right.
That's correct. The League Company countdown to kickoff begins at 5 p.m.
Well, no. The League Company countdown to kickoff begins at 3 p.m. with Blaine, Mickey, and myself.
Titans countdown at 5.
All right. No help whatsoever.
Oh, my goodness.
Excellent work.
We totally botched that.
Well, we've got Kirby and Robert both speaking off microphone, completely derailing the show at any given point. Kirby is going to redeem himself, though, because he's going to fix my sunglasses, which is just I wish that I had any kind of ability other than being able to talk, because I have no other discernible skills, Kirb. Because we were talking about like things that need to get done around the house. I can't fix anything. I make money so that I can pay people to do the things that I don't want to do. But I have no other skills in my possession.
Yeah.
And I am so envious that you're going to be able to fix my sunglasses today.
I make money, and I like to keep it, so I learned how to fix things myself.
Well, what am I going to keep it for?
Hey, you might need something, a new pair of Nikes.
Huh?
You might want to survive after the zombie apocalypse. You need to know how.
I've already survived the zombie apocalypse. I thought that was the last 2 years. I thought I made it.
I have a certain set of skills.
A particular set of skills. Yeah, Liam Neeson at 60 years old, our greatest action hero. Completely ridiculous.
Yes.
Oh! He came out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Liam Neeson, do you think Kirby will effectively be able to fix my sunglasses today the way that he has promised?
No.
Oh! No. Disappointing. What a shame. Ben McKee of VolQuest is tweeting that Vols defensive coordinator Tim Banks mentions Warren Burrell, Lucas? Burrell. Warren Burrell, Jalen McCullough, and Trayvon Flowers as likely starters in the secondary next Thursday when the team opens their season against Ball State. That's a big deal.
Yeah, not a huge surprise. Warren Burrell, a guy that has gotten a ton of experience at one of those corner spots. He started in place of Alontae Taylor in that Music City Bowl against Purdue. The question mark there is, who is opposite of Burrell? Is it Kamal Haddon, the Auburn transfer who's been banged up a little bit throughout camp and has been getting back recently? Is it Brandon Turnage, the Alabama transfer? So seems like 3 of those 4 spots, if you're just looking at a depth chart, that's not including the star position, but if you're just looking at a depth chart, it appears to just leave 1 spot up for grabs at cornerback.
All right, so that's been among the biggest questions of the offseason is what will the Vols do to fill out their secondary? Some injuries, as we talked to Wes Rucker yesterday about, but it sounds like Tim Banks has got the group that he wants to roll with at least into the start of the season, and how that kind of adapts or evolves as we progress, certainly against Ball State, is as good a sample size as they'll get. It's the closest thing to a preseason game that they'll get respectfully to our buddy Blaine Bishop's Ball State
Cardinals.
Yes,
correct. Blaine's son.
I'm from that state, and I had no idea what the Ball State mascot was.
Blaine's son Chase will be back in Knoxville. He started his college football career at Tennessee before transferring to Ball State, so that'll be cool. And then they'll get a long week to prepare for Pitt, who just named Slovis as the starter officially today.
Okay, very interesting. So Vols starting to make progress and getting on the field in short order for their first game of the regular season. Titans a couple of weeks away, and a preseason game, as we mentioned, on Saturday night. Let's do some polls.
Hello, everyone listening to the Buck Reising Show. This is Benjamin Kenobi.
Makes me happy every time.
Missed opportunity not to use
Neeson,
Neeson, though.
To say.
Oh,
Lucas,
look at you being critical.
Use the Force, Lucas.
That's the
to
Force.
Help interpret what the hell Chewie is saying. Oh, scrap that rubbish.
Lucas, I am not your father.
Just a grown man doing a whole Chewbacca voice.
Your father, nor am I Buck's father.
I was once a Jedi Knight, and what I'm trying to say is, Lucas, it's time to update the final poll results here on the Buck Reising Show. Do it now.
All right, buddy, you got it.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They will deliver it to you when it's manufactured. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? Jonathan says it's the Cardinals not allowing us to film one-on-ones.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was stupid, the fact that they deprived not just, media people, we got to watch it anyway, and we were live tweeting it, so why not just let us take the damn video for people who want to see this stuff at home?
Justin says it's Titans fans saying the Titans should trade Kern to the Colts for Kelly.
Well,
For Dennis Kelly, that
yeah, maybe Tim Kelly, currently on the Titans staff, feels strongly about that. Maybe not. I don't know. The last time I talked to Dennis, it didn't seem like he was, totally intent on coming back here. So there may be some things there that go beyond just the simple transactional nature.
Jacob says it's Kentucky fans thinking they've earned the right to talk trash to Tennessee fans.
They have, by nature of being a consistently better football program in the last 5 to 10 years. I would make that argument. But head-to-head, no, you can't talk trash to Tennessee fans. Kentucky, that's the one thing that Tennessee has been able to rely upon even when they stink. So they can still beat the Tackle Cats.
Did you see it was Chris Doring, who we've had on the show before, had Kentucky at 11-1 in 2022 with the lone loss to Tennessee.
Yeah, I would say to you that I would say to you that Chris Doring needs to make an appearance on this radio show in short order because that is a hell of a troll.
This might be a hot take, but I think Kentucky fans would rather go 9-3 and beat Tennessee than go 11-1 with the one loss being to Tennessee.
Ooh, you think so?
Maybe not 9-3, but 10-2 with the win over Tennessee, as opposed to 11-1 with the loss to Tennessee, because they would never hear the end of it.
No, how could they? How could they? That would completely derail any joy the Kentucky fans would get out of their football season.
Would Tom Brady have won a Super Bowl with the Raiders? 65% say no.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. I think I teased it at some point and then I forgot. The Tom Brady stuff is wild. You got speculation saying that he's going to be revealed as the next candidate on The Masked Singer, who they haven't – I mean, there's been zero buzz about The Masked Singer since they had Rudy Giuliani on and people walked out. There has been speculation that he's just taking vacation. I believe we had a caller speculate that, he's just spending more time with his family. Like that's something that an NFL football player would just pick up and leave in the middle of training camp practice, no matter if they are the greatest of all time. But I thought Jason McCourty made a pretty interesting point on Good Morning Football yesterday, I think. The idea that there's nobody in the Bucs locker room that can check Tom Brady and be like, hey, bud, totally understand, but we just want to see, what's going on and how much more frequently stuff like this is going to happen.
Well, we asked that question. Can anybody in a locker room anywhere check Tom Brady at this point in his career? 87% say no.
That's too low. That's too low, 87%. We need more people with sound reason and logic to understand that this man basically owns the sports universe.
How many Titans or how many quarterbacks do the Titans keep on the initial 53-man roster? If you ask how many Titans the Titans will keep, the answer is 53. But how many quarterbacks will they keep? 2 or 3? 67% say 2.
Wrong again, because they will keep in total 69 by nature of the practice squad.
Nice.
So you blew the math again. Excellent work. Do you think somebody did that on purpose? The league office said, if I take 16 here and I put 53 here. Look at this.
Just stifling laughter. think they're gonna notice?
Excellent.
Robert, not our Robert, but Robert says 2, but I could easily see 3 with Woodside not making it through the first round of waiver claims.
Definitely not our Robert. Our Robert looks like he's about to die out here. We gotta get him out of. We gotta get him out of. He is of fair complexion.
Got a ticking clock over here.
And this is a lot of sun for somebody in this particular shade.
He's about to spontaneously combust again.
I am neon white, and I'm going to leave here a bright shade of red.
I'm very well, I hope it lasts you the year, bud.
I call that shade fuchsia.
Okay.
Hey, at this point, though, seriously, are you thinking 2 or 3 quarterbacks?
I would say 3 quarterbacks at the start of the season as we sit here today, just based off a couple of things, watching Malik and a little bit emphasized by our conversation with him today.
Is this the only market in the NFL where you can lead a show with punter talk? 74% say yes.
Yep, that's the only one that I can think of. I don't know what Johnny Hecker's doing right now, but
he is playing. Oh gosh, he's with the Carolina Panthers.
Okay, well yeah, their story is Baker Mayfield, not Johnny Hecker. So I think we're the only ones.
By the way, did you see reports that quarterback battle wasn't remotely close?
No, Sam Darnold stinks. He sees ghosts and catches mono.
Goody says, well, you have Pat McAfee show, so that's kind of disrespectful to him.
What about Pat's not on a roster.
Well, he's talking about like shows that can lead with punter talk.
Oh, well, yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
Well, Titans for Life says, hang on, Buffalo with the punt god.
Who's Ariza?
Yeah, because I believe Buffalo cut their punter for Ariza.
Okay, yeah. So Ariza, the punt god. Why is he called the punt god? I'm not familiar with the excitement around him.
Because he's a god at punting the football.
All right, excellent.
He blasted one 82 yards in the
82 yards?
The first preseason game.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah.
This is news to me. That's considerable.
Stonehouse did too, but it ended up being 68 because it was a touchback. But it went 85 yards in the air, according to the Titans radio broadcast.
That's disgusting.
Last Saturday. those are the polls.
All right, very good. That's the show. We had a great time. If you'd missed any of the show, go check it out in the podcast version. Malik Willis, I thought, was a lot of fun. That's available in your favorite podcast feeds. A to Z Sports Prime Time tonight. I'm going to talk about what I saw out here on the practice field in a little more detail and probably get into some Malik Willis stuff as well. So for Robert Walsh, Kirby Allen Kirby, Lucas Panzica, appreciate you guys spending your time with us today, and the Titans for having us out throughout the duration of training camp. Very kind of them to make all that possible. Blaine and Mickey are next. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.